Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome in person to Florida Studio Theater. Yes, very much worth I cheer for it every day. My name is Rebecca Hopkins. If we have not met, I'm the managing director here at Florida Studio Theater, and it is my great honor to welcome you all for this important discussion this afternoon with the Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative. This is one of many discussions that have taken place over the last 18 months. However, this is the first one we've been able to do live. So we're very excited to see all of you here as we continue forward on this journey. FST is proud to partner with the Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative because we have worked together for quite a while, particularly with Michelle Redwine through our FST diversity forums, where we try to take our plays on stage as a leaping off point for community discussion, which is very important. These type of collaborations is what makes Sarasota and Manatee so special, that this community as a whole is committed to coming together, working together to solve whatever problem we can. And these partnerships mean the world, not only to the theater, but to all the nonprofits. That being said, I now want to introduce another one of our partners from the Sarasota Community Foundation, Miss Roxy Jurdy. Welcome to the theater.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. And a warm welcome in person, too. It's the first one I've done in a couple years, so it's really special to welcome all of you. I want to do a shout-out first to Michelle Redwine. Your vision, your creativity, your persistence on having this all happen, these series. Thank you, thank you. We have been so proud to partner with you and have learned a lot through all of these as well, so thank you. In a time like no others, the voices that are shared through the arts are calling out to be heard and understood, not just seen. More than a year and a half of change has confirmed, hasn't it, how powerful the arts are in our community, just as Rebecca said. The importance of the voices of future art visionaries like the students and educational leaders that we're going to hear from this afternoon, they're so vital for advancing ideas in the years ahead. The conversations and activities that start on college campuses transform moments into movements and inspire students of all ages to learn not only about ourselves, but about our community and the world around us. Local education is where this work begins our path forward and how we bring people together through cultural moments. So I look forward to hearing from everyone. We are so proud to partner with the Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative in this series and truly convening these conversations and connecting people with ideas so we can all engage and learn together. So thanks for being here. And now, did I do 1 minute? Okay. I'd love to proud to introduce Alan Brown. He's Vice President of the Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Brown, Vice Chair of the Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative, and on behalf of the Board of Directors and our founder, Michelle Redwine, we'd like to thank you for attending tonight's event. I'd also like to acknowledge our supporters that helped make this event possible, including Roxy Jurdy and the Community Foundation of Sarasota County for the financial support of the panels, Florida Studio Theater in partnership to host the panels in conjunction with the diversity forums. Sarasota Magazine is our exclusive magazine sponsor, and Charles Clapsaddle, Station Manager, Manatee Educational Television Consortium. We appreciate and are grateful for the gifts and time that you provided us. We welcome our distinguished panelists representing Sarasota's wonderful colleges and public secondary schools. And in case you didn't know, tonight we have 3 undergraduate students, as well as 1 graduate student that are arts majors that will be on the panel, and they're extremely talented. So for this special event, we are delighted to have Dr. Denise Davis Cotton, Director of the Florida Center for Paint at the University of South Florida, serve as our moderator. Denise is recognized as a leading authority in arts-integrated teaching, an accomplished curriculum designer for cultural inclusive education, arts integration, and new school and program development. Let's welcome our moderator and panel to the stage for the Arts and Racial Justice Discovery Series, The Black Experience in Arts in Higher Education. Thank you.
Good evening. I am so excited to be here, and I'm excited to say this: silence your cell phones. It's the first time I've said that in 2 years. Wow. It is indeed my pleasure to introduce to you the distinguished university presidents, Dr. Karen Holbrook, Regional Chancellor, University of South Florida, Sarasota, Manatee. Dr. Patricia Oker, President, New College of Florida. Dr. Carol Protzfeld, President, State College of Florida. And Dr. Larry Thompson, President, Ringling College of Art and Design. Our student panelists, Simone A. Hicks, our University and High School Administration and Faculty. Simone A. Hicks, Adjunct Professor, State College of Florida. Dr. Brenda N. Pickney, Director of Diversity and Inclusion, State College of Florida. Dr. William G. Woodson, Dean of Outreach, New College of Florida. And Greg Rumpf, Vice Principal, Booker High School. And now our fabulous students. Jesse Clark, Ringling College of Art and Design, Junior. Ayolaomalara Kaplan, New College of Florida, class of 2021. Crystal Lemonis, University of South Florida, Graduate Fellow. And Fred Brown, State College of Florida. So we're going to ask the panelists to get comfortable. This is really exciting. It's a topic that is important to me, and I'm quite sure it's important to all of you. And I'm so glad that Michelle had the vision to talk about the Black experience in the arts in higher education. So the first question I'm going to ask will go to our university presidents. When you look at the position of a university president or a college president or a chancellor, you are in the unique and pristine position of setting the message, the climate, the tone, and the culture for all stakeholders in the community. I believe that universities and schools are the heart of a community. So even separate from arts, the work that you do in recruiting students, especially students of color, incorporates foundational values. And those values help students see themselves, respect their own culture, and respect the culture of others. So I'm asking you to take a few moments to highlight your individual and respective institutions and tell what is your commitment to racial equity in the arts. Start with anyone, Dr. Holbrook, Dr. Prosville.
Well, thank you. I'll start. The State College of Florida is an open access institution. Our history has been about being that institution where anybody is welcome to come with a high school diploma or a GED, and we're very proud of that tradition. In terms of equity, specifically in the arts, we've been working really hard to find ways to incorporate, for example, in the Hispanic Heritage Month, to make sure we're highlighting composers and performers of Hispanic and Latino music. For Black History Month coming up, we'll do the same thing with composers and guest artists from that culture. So we're trying to create the role models for our students and for everybody on our campus, for that matter, who is interested in learning more about their own culture, more about other cultures, but most importantly, to be part of the culture of the world, the family of the State College of Florida and our greater community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Holbrook.
I will say something, starting with culture. I loved your word culture, Denise. And University of South Florida, Sarasota, Manatee has a very unique culture because we're small. And I'm going to get to the arts. Don't worry. But we are very small, and we know each other very well. We know all of our students by name. We follow all our students very closely. And this year, during COVID, it has been our particular year to continue to develop and really enhance our culture. We have had 51 town halls. That's a lot of town halls. That means that we meet as a faculty and staff every single Friday morning for at least an hour to talk about what happened that was good, to do shout-outs so people can recognize different members of the faculty and the staff who've done something. And then we usually bring in somebody who has a special topic to talk about. And many times we have people of diverse backgrounds to talk with us. Corey Posey, for example, our diversity officer for the campus, has brought in particular people from Washington, D.C. to talk about diversity and how the importance of it on our campus. Kevin Sneed, our Dean of Pharmacy, talked about, particularly about vaccination and about let me try mixing this up, vaccination in the Black community and his outreach. He's African American himself, and he's been working with the Black churches to make sure that people understand the background of vaccination. Now, as far as arts, I would love to say that we have a great arts community. We don't have an arts program in our college right now, but we have the magic component, and that's Denise. Denise is really building the arts for the community in many of the K through 12 programs around the state as well as in our community. And through the kinds of things that Denise does on our campus, I think we're building a population that we can bring, and we really are so committed to doing more in the arts that our new building that we've designed, which we don't have funded yet, but a building that we're working toward is called the ISTAC building, Integrated Science, Technology, and Arts, because we believe of the great importance of the arts, filling in with the other programs that we have. So we are deeply committed to the arts. We're deeply committed to building diversity in our programs, and I see many of you in the audience who've been working with us on our diversity programs at the university, so thank you.
Thank you, and Dr. Oker and Dr. Thompson.
Hi, New College of Florida is the honors college of the state of Florida, and we have a curriculum that is devoted primarily to individual exploration of discovery of self and others, and it's a very individualized curriculum, and creativity is an essential part of that for students in all disciplines. And as you may know, I'm new to New College, and so one of the things I love about New College and learning more about every day is the extent to which the arts are integrated into the curriculum. speaking particularly about the role of arts and the search for racial equity, I will say this, that it is clear, we all know this history, that the arts, all the arts, music, theater, dance, literature, what have I forgotten, visual arts, all the arts have always been central to the Black experience, to the Latinx experience in the United States, and to the pursuit of racial justice. And I give credit to the faculty and the students at New College who have really been leading the way to make sure that both our curriculum and our extracurricular activities ensure that we're developing the skills of discovery and creativity with our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
So on our end, as a private university and also devoted entirely to art and design, so the visual arts, that we are also very, very committed to diversity. Indeed, art and design cannot really exist without diversity, whether it's being diversity of people, diversity of backgrounds, people of different colors, races, and thoughts, because art is created by human beings, and having that as the beginning soul of a human being's imagination and creativity means that you have to have human beings that are unique and different and are able to work together. And so we are committed to that kind of diversity of people, of thoughts, of perspectives, and because the arts also have an ability to inspire people to come together to communicate around that kind of visual representation.
Well, thank you, university presidents and chancellors. We also know that the arts are all around us. They're everywhere. And the arts bring about an expression of free will and unique ideas and perspectives. So I'm going to start with the students, and we want to hear a lot from the students tonight so that you can learn from them. What a novelty.
Talking about that backstage, one of the greatest things, I want to hear what the students have to say.
So as we reflect on tonight's panel discussion, we're excited to engage in the various perspectives and ideas from various sectors of our communities and our panel. But from your perspective, from the perspective of a student, a president, a DEIO officer, when you think of your institution and its mission and its values, what is art? And who is art for on your campus? I'm going to start with the students. And if you could just say your name, Ayola, so everybody would know who's speaking. And we're going to start with you and go all the way down the line.
Okay. So my name is Ayolaomalara Kaplan, and I am a revolutionary surrealist artist. And for me, I grew up facing many adversities, being a Black, queer, autistic woman from a single-parent, working-class family. Over time, I developed a relationship with art that allowed it to serve as a healing mechanism for me. Through art, I was able to converse with myself non-verbally. I could face parts of me that were hidden by giving them form. Now I see art as a tool to give shape and voice to concepts and people like myself who felt they were unseen and incapable of wholeness. In our society, art mostly exists to encourage more consumerism, so I want to be a part of the mission to make art meaningful again. Art should be for the people, not for profit. Just as art served as a tool to transform my view of myself, I think art has the potential to transform our collective view of what's possible in the world. By creating art that meaningfully addresses our current struggle against oppression, we amplify and give form to alternative realities where justice and peace aren't just words, but are lived experiences. Art allows people to empower themselves and contribute to the empowerment of others. Black people in particular have a rich history of employing art in transforming reality through visually facilitating spiritual, political, and cultural awakenings. Black revolutionary surrealist art, which is what I like to consider myself, we work to make our ideas of a liberated reality appear real. The art aids the Black working class in visualizing our dreams of justice, that we may work collectively to actualize our liberation. So for me, art can be almost anything and everything, But when art is used with intention, it can become foundational to changing anything and everything.
Thank you so much. I've heard some powerful words: wholeness, transformative. And you talked about your personal experiences and your navigation through the art in the community to ensure that your history is acknowledged and present in your artwork. So our next panelist will continue the dialogue. What is art to you?
Hello, everyone.
Who is it for?
I'm Jesse Clark. I'm a third-year student at Roland College of Art and Design and photographer as well. And as art is sort of something that's kind of undefinable, I did like how Ayola mentioned that it is a tool. And I see in my work, art is for everyone, and I certainly like to use my photography as a tool for sort of representation of the Black community. It's a language that can be reached among many different cultures, and so having the ability to use my voice and to elevate others through my work and encourage a generation of young artists to kind of follow in each other's steps. I certainly do agree and see art as a tool, and it is something that's also good for therapy. And as I mentioned before, it's something that is a universal language. I think it is connected to everyone and is an essential part of the human experience.
Thank you. We heard voice, universal language, and that tool of expression. And our next person, Crystal, our graduate fellow.
Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal Lemonis, and I'm a graduate student at University of South Florida, Tampa. I pulled up my school's mission, and I just wanted to share. The University of South Florida recognizes the power of art. We immerse students in visual culture, past and present, engaging them to explore and understand how images construct and reflect the shared consciousness of culture. And I wanted to share that because I really resonate with that mission in that my work does very similar purposes. As a visual artist, I work multidisciplinary, meaning that I work two-dimensionally as well as three-dimensionally. I work with ceramics as a printmaker, as a fiber artist and painter. And running through all these mediums, what's constant is my response to relationships within people, between people, and how they understand themselves and their self in a collective. And so I understand art as a way of bridging these experiences that we've had and learning from each other and learning from our past and present self, but at the same time using these experiences as a way to make changes for us all to live more equitably. And in my experience thus far as an artist, I've used my work as a starting point to open up dialogues that allow people to talk about hard subjects, hard conversations that can be softened by finding empathy in talking with each other. And so I think it's important to use art as a tool, like it has been reiterated throughout this conversation so far, but also to really find places of empathy to learn from each other's experience and culture.
Thank you, and I love that word, empathy. Our last student.
Hello, my name is Frederick Brown. I am a third year at the State College of Florida. Personally, what I believe art is to me and through our institution is more going on as more as a vocal performance major and more as a violin player. Is really more in the auditorial and as more as the visual that we try to give off as just saying, what factors really just show like what can we make as art. So what I see most of it is just expression. I feel like a lot of the music is tied to what we are feeling and what we are thinking. So putting that into sound is and something that is universal, as we were saying before, as a lot of people like to hear and as people pretty much how we comprehend and look at music. I feel as though that is a good way that we as a community just am able to like relate into pretty much, I would say, sorry, excuse me, pretty much just find a way is to like find yourself into the music and to really the story of what art can be and what its true form is as how it's developed over time as music-wise. As for me personally, I visually show as art as not more of for myself, but for the audience that I perform in front of. It's more of just like my gift, I would like to say, as I am being and my understanding and through my knowledge of it, as to how I can share it with other people and make sure that the story and the work of the composer and what they're really trying to get the messages is can be spread and remembered from a long period of time. So I think it's very important and very precious to have these people that have made so many great and precious works to just try to tell a story and really just remind everybody, just kind of even though through our hard times, what true art form can be, and just with, as far as ethnically it goes, what it can pretty much provide as a sense of, I would say, history to what we have accumulated and pretty much was able to share with people. So I very much in my work of musicianship try to show and perform as best as I can to the music and to other people of the story and pretty much like the lineage of what we can do as art.
Thank you so much. I'm going to switch to the other end with our DEIO administrators and ask them, after listening to the students talk about what is art and who is art for, I'm going to ask you to answer the same question from the lens of the student and your university. And do you meet the needs of the students as they talk about empathy and transformation and their stories and their experiences? As a DEIO officer and administrator at your institution, what is art and who is it for?
I feel like art is self-serving because you have to connect first with whatever art form you're using. So as for singing, like, it has to come from you. You have to enjoy what you're doing, or else it's not going to mean something to someone else in the way you want it to. So you first have to find the joy of sharing art. And then once you tell those stories, you can connect with others. So when you're preparing to learn in that art form, like as for singing, you need to dissect what it is that you're sharing. Like, what is the story? And then share it. So I feel like, yes, it's for you and it's for other people. And once you like internalize it more, your feelings will come across.
Bill?
So I'm Bill Woodson, Dean of Outreach at New College of Florida, and I think, simply put, art is creative expression, and the mission of all institutions of higher education is to help the young people that pass through our doors to realize their full potential in a multitude of different ways. And it may be athletic, it's certainly going to be intellectual, but that creative dimension is also extremely critical and can actually be the key to unlock other potentials as well. So just as someone would never know if they're going to be a gifted high jumper if you never put a pole vault in their hands, they would never know if they're going to be a gifted musician unless you get that exposure. It's the role of higher education to provide those that broad exposure that can trigger that potential. And I think about my own experience as a college student where I never thought of myself as being an artistic person. But art, and I'm glad that there's a musician on the panel, that a major part of my college experience, which I had not planned on, was to be a DJ on the college radio station. So I was a curator of music for the entire campus and never thought of myself as having a connection to art, and still sometimes struggle with that connection. So you've got to find those exposures, those opportunities to broaden and to to help these young people find their potential. And for people of color, art and creative expression in general is just so important to unlocking potentials for young people who are often been told many times that they're not sufficient, that they don't have what we know they have to offer to the world, and that creative pathway can be the key.
Thank you. Dr. Pickney.
Good evening. I'm Brenda Pinkney, Director of Diversity and Inclusion at State College of Florida. And what do I think art is? Art, I think, is a communication of creative thought that one communicates through with feeling, with thought, with emotion, dealing with those things are internal, because we understand that we live in a space where mental health is important, and I think art is important for those people who are dealing with some of those things. So with our students, we allow them an opportunity to look at art and use art as a way to communicate out to people that may answer some of those things that people are feeling, some of those things that people are experiencing, and giving them the opportunity to share that with the world. So it's not just for the artists, but it's for those of us who are not the artists, that we can come together and we can see those things and have our own interpretation. Where the artist may communicate one thing out, we may see it differently. And with art, it's visual, it's music, it's through writing with prose and poetry and short stories. So art, I think, covers a gamut of things. And I think art is all around us. Even sitting in here, the person that you're sitting next to, there's something either in the injection of their voice that may be artistic to your ear. There's something in the design in their clothing that they may have on. So I think we express through how we dress, how we feel, how we think, and how we express.
Thank you. And Mr. Rump.
Hello, I'm Greg Rump, assistant principal at Booker High School, and in another life, I am an artist. Shameless plug, I'm a graduate of Ringling School of Art and Design and University of South Florida. With that, I think this is a loaded question. And I've been processing it from 3 different roles as I've heard all of my fellow panelists answer the question. I think art for me is, simply put, it's the soundtrack to life. It's the soundtrack to us. Whether you're dancing, whether you're a dancer, whether you're a visual artist, whether you're a musician, you tell the story of us from your perspective. How you interpret things, how you emote, how you experience your life and all of that. And what you do is you transform that into a vehicle for others to either gain some insight into how you see what you're seeing or expressing, or you give others an opportunity to engage, to question, to dialogue, to invoke change with however it is that you approach your subject matter. As an educator, I think there's really 2 objectives as an art educator. One is to teach the craft, the fundamentals. How do you do what you do as a practitioner of whatever your art form is? I believe the second objective as the art educator is to give the students an opportunity to be inspired to think, to critically analyze what they're seeing so they can figure out what their story is and how they're going to create their artwork, tell their story. As an administrator who represents a whole institution that centers in their art, it's my responsibility as the administrator to design programmatically opportunities for teachers and students to engage in the arts, to have those opportunities that I spoke about, whether the institution is diverse or whether it isn't. It is my job to put teachers in front of those students who will engage students with rigorous activities and allow them to ask deep questions about who they are, and why they do what they do.
Thank you. I want to just dovetail off of what you said for the university presidents to answer the question, what is art and what is art for? As we look at the sponsors, and definitely Michelle Redwine, Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative. That word collaborative Talk to me about your universities, listening to your DEIO officers and administrators and your students. Who is art for and how do you collaborate? Dr. Thompson?
So it's a lot. Well, there's a lot of ways to collaborate, and I think that's one of the advantages to many of the arts, because in music, for example, it's a requirement in terms of, like, if you're performing in an orchestra or so forth, it's opportunities to be able to work together with someone. And it's the same thing that's true with the visual arts. I mean, it seems like it's a lonely process, but it's amazing the conversations that take place between students, because they're learning from each other, and many of them will say, I learn as much from my fellow students as I do my professor. Some professors don't like that, but that's okay. In any event, we collaborate quite a bit with the community. We're very dedicated to being engaged in the community. So one of those ways is we have 6 galleries on our campus that are open to the public, and they have shows going all of the time. And since January of 2020, 50% of them have been about issues of racial justice or by people of color as the artist is being featured. The other way we collaborate with the community is through our Sarasota Art Museum, which just opened. That's the historic high school. It just opened and then closed, thanks to COVID. 4 months of being open, but it's open again. And there's 2 great shows that are at that museum that are done by 2 African-American artists that are just absolutely stunning. So I really would recommend that you go there and have a chance to see it before it leaves. But we also collaborate through our school system. We do a whole program where a lot of our students volunteer through what's called Youth Experiencing Arts, which is basically helping teachers in elementary schools to use art as a vehicle to teach other subject matters. And it's a great experience for our students and also for those who are the teachers and so forth, and they're in Title I schools. So it's a very diverse population that's part of that as well. And I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to steal the show. So,
thank you. Dr. Postfeld?
So I think art is very simple for me. It's how we as human beings creatively interact with one another, how we tell our stories, how we carry forth our history, how we communicate our heart and our soul. And who's art for? I think art is for everybody. And one of the things I'm so proud of at the State College of Florida is we put on over 50 different productions throughout the year. And many of them are free. They're very low cost. So many people have not had the opportunity to ever see a live production, to ever go to an art gallery, can come to the State College of Florida and have that experience. In almost every production we do, there's a collaboration, whether it's with a guest artist, whether it's with, we did a musical theater production several years ago. We had the local middle school band was part of the production. Our Bradenton Symphony Orchestra, we're playing with professionals in the community who are coming to play with our students. So I think by its very nature, art is collaborative. So almost everything we do, I would say, in that space is collaborative. But again, what I'm most proud of is that we're making art available to people who may not have had that opportunity before. So we're opening eyes and creating our next generation of artists.
Thank you. And Dr. Oker?
So similar themes, I'm not going to repeat what others have said, but we also have connections with community. But I'm going to actually just give an example of one thing, one activity that we do, a program that we do at New College, which I think is an example of how we approach art and collaboration, and it's the Dance Collective. I haven't yet been, since I'm new, I haven't yet experienced a performance of the Dance Collective, but I've seen some videos and I've heard students talk about this, and it's truly extraordinary. And here's what I'd say about it. So art is often seen as very exclusive, right? You sometimes art is tucked away in spaces that are not really welcoming to all kinds of people, right? It's, you know what I mean in terms of the exclusive nature of art, or people say things like, I can't sing, or I can't dance, or I don't have the skills, right? So there's all this mythology that art is actually exclusionary. And one of the things I love about the Dance Collective is it is student-run, which is very true to New College values, and it is committed to the fact that people of all shapes and sizes and experiences and backgrounds can dance on stage in front of a crowd. And this idea, so we do believe in craft, that's an important part, but sometimes the craft can also get turned into, if you haven't had 16 years of ballet, you're not allowed to be on stage. And I've seen the performances, and it really speaks to me about the spirit of collaboration. And I love the fact that it's called a dance collective. And I have seen, again, I can't wait to the performance. I want to encourage you to come, where people who have never been on stage before, who've been told, you're not a dancer, you don't have any background in dance, get up and dance with joy, and they have a sense of community with their other performers and with the audience. And for me, I wish that art were a verb. I know I sound like an English major there, but art is often seen as a thing, and I think that art is an experience. It's a verb. It's something we do, and all the artists who have been talking demonstrate that. So I'll just give a shout out to the Dance Collective at New College of Florida.
Thank you. And Dr. Holbrook.
Well, being last, I think everyone has said a number of very important things, and what I'm going to take from that is, what is art? Art is very personal. It's very clear because we've heard it from so many people expressed in so many different ways and so many different meanings and so many different experiences for each of them personally. So I think it's really a very personal experience, and all of us know what it means. I'm a scientist. I come from a background of only doing biomedical science, but art has been foremost in just about everything I've done, from drawings. I love to do drawings. I like to draw anyway. I go sit in the woods and draw wildflowers for fun. And then as I grew up, I became an electron microscopist. And what did I love about electron microscopy? It was really the artistry of it, of seeing beautiful images and taking beautiful pictures that provided a great deal of information, because in art there is always so much information. As far as collaboration, I think we have a wonderful example of how art is collaborative, and that's our Center for Partnerships in Arts Integrated Education, our PAINT program. And PAINT is one that is totally collaborative. And it's in so many different areas of art that brings art to youngsters, and they collaborate with one another in what they're doing, whether it's with the circus and collaborating with community organization, whether it's the Circus Arts Conservatory, whether it's the Manatee Arts Education Foundation, whether it's kids that are coming together to learn art in wildlife. And what are they doing? They're drawing, and they have a wonderful workbook of how do you draw a bird in wonderful circles and put them together. But they learn art, and they learn their math, they learn their science through art. So art is a vehicle, art is a way of learning in many other programs, and it is absolutely wonderful to see that the children can see all of this. From art, they have soul. And from their soul, they can do the things that they thought they couldn't do in the science and math programs. So it's absolutely a phenomenal program that's gone all over the state, and we're so proud to be part of it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really love the fact that the last two speakers ended with experiences of collaboration and the experiences of the students. So this question I'm asking is for the students. Think about your experiences on your campus and tell us in about a minute and a half or so, what is your favorite class? And do you believe that your professors recognize the importance of your artwork? Tell us about any race-related stressors that you may have experienced on your campus. Loaded questions.
I'm going to do my best to get it, say this all quickly. Okay, so my favorite class was Religion and Activism, taught by Professor Alexandria Griffin. In the course, we studied the lives of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King side by side. While the course was primarily a religious studies course, it served as my favorite art course because Professor Griffin encouraged me to write my papers and conduct my research with a focus on art. For the final, I created a zine, which was basically a small handmade magazine, featuring a series of portraits of Black Pan-African leaders. It was incredibly fulfilling to experience this project, and it felt like my most important work during my time in college. Having professors and courses that encouraged an exploration of race and class was awesome, but it was not always the norm. Professor Griffin's class felt different because she encouraged me to be open and channel my thoughts into the discussions and assignments. The work felt relevant to me and the world around me. To be honest, I faced race-related stressors throughout my time in college, and they got progressively worse each year. At first, I faced the usual feeling of being disconnected from the people around me, because I was almost always the only Black student in my classes. In addition, the courses I was taking almost never spoke to my experiences, whether that was a lack of meaningful conversation about Black art or Black intellectuals, or courses that exclusively highlighted European standards of beauty, intelligence, and value. On top of all this, I was facing what many colleges around the world are experiencing, which is an incredible increase in police presence. When I first got to New College, there were maybe 1 or 2 cops on campus. By the time I left, their presence felt very overwhelming. I was getting stopped and harassed by police multiple times consistently. Friends of mine experienced physical aggression and emotional aggression. After finding racist Facebook posts by campus police officers, I worked with students on campus to draw attention to these issues through art and zines that we distributed around campus. As anxiety about the overwhelming police presence and constant fear of being stopped and harassed by the police mounted, I eventually made the decision to move off campus entirely. Dealing with all of this while maintaining my studies was absolutely difficult, and I want to be honest about how it did stain my experience at college. Overall, though, it did inject a great deal of passion into the work I was creating at the time, and continues to be one of my strongest motivations in creating artwork that amplifies calls for abolition.
Thank you. We're going to listen to all of the students, and then I will have the university presidents or DEIO officers respond in kind.
So I had a class my last semester, spring semester, that was a location lighting class for photography. And it was taught by this professor. His name was Wes Klein. And it wasn't so much the curriculum that, sort of engaged me, but it was how he approached us as students. And he certainly provided me the resources to create the work that I wanted to create. And I credit him for the reason I'm sort of here today, and he really pushed me to have a voice and to get my voice out there in as many avenues as I could. And also with that, I know my experience on campus may be different from other students, but at Ringling College of Art and Design, I am privileged to have not had any racial stressors or anything like that. I believe the campus has been a very inclusive campus, and the community there has been very welcoming for me, and I have been able to feel encouraged to be myself as well as encourage others. And I also credit the Center for Diversity and Inclusion on our campus for elevating students of color as well and making sure we feel welcome there on campus. So I wish it was an experience that all students of color could have, but I certainly can say I've been privileged to have been able to navigate my college experience so far without any of those issues.
Thank you. Crystal?
So far, I have taken an independent study with Dr. Elizabeth Horge Freeman. She is the senior advisor to the president and provost of diversity and inclusion, and the associate professor in sociology. I was able to work with her after essentially a battle with other professors. The requirements for my program asked us to do art history course. However, there weren't any art history courses that reflected my research or my experience. and I felt I would be taking a course in history that I've done before in regards to my undergrad program, a BFA program. Was very aggressive. And so taking this course with her, I was able to craft a syllabus with her, really hone in on specific reading that was necessary for my research as an artist interesting in immigrant experiences, people coming from the Caribbean and working as care workers in the New York tri-state area, and really honing in on that. And I was, through advocating for myself and speaking with my director, I was able to take that course, but it definitely was not easy being able to do so. But advocating for myself and being able to do that class allowed to pave the way for other students to also see that it wasn't just me. There was many other students that didn't see themselves reflected in the courses that were provided, and would essentially be wasting a semester of instruction on information that, of course, is very interesting and very important to understanding in art history, but not specific to our graduate experience needed. And so I feel that overall graduate students in my program are not necessarily able to really hone in on their research at points because the syllabuses and curriculum often are very broad, which can be good for students that are still finding themselves, but students that have some direction, there should be some sort of resources available to have other alternatives for gaining the knowledge that they need in specific instructions. And I think with that, it would allow for students of varied backgrounds, women, queer, coming from the Caribbean, various backgrounds, to be able to see themselves in their instruction and really grow and build experience that would take them further from just being in school and learning, and rather than being deposited information, really being active in their educational experiences. So for me, it was challenging, but through some work, I was able to get through that.
So at the State College of Florida, currently right now, I would say I have two favorite classes. I don't know if that's really going in against it, but I'm a part of the chamber choir. I'm a student conductor for that. And I'm also a second violinist in the Brayton Symphony Orchestra, so I'm very fortunate to have those two opportunities to have them. I'm sorry, what was the follow-up? I would say as very, very little, as almost none at the State College of Florida, personally. As far as the teachers and adjuncts very much pay attention to the diversity of the students, and as we have our selections coming up this Thursday for Hispanic Heritage Concert, they are very involved with the diversity of students and pretty much giving everybody just a new, I'd say, vision on how to perceive, more Latin music, and just pretty much trying to get it more involved throughout the world, just more ethnicity, more in diversity. I would say as far as me in high school, leading on into wondering what I would like to do for education, my teacher right now for Brayton Symphony Orchestra that's in the audience, Dr. Bell, was able to come into our school and pretty much give us a quick rundown of what we're really able to do with music in higher education, that you're able to have a career and that you're able to express yourself and that you're able to make a living off of just being a musician. And it was a very, very, I would say, informative and influential to then proceed to my decision of going to the State College of Florida for 2 years. And just at my time here, it's been very, very educational and very, I would say, stress-free as far as any racial factors that were to go.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask one diversity officer, administrator, to respond to the students. We've heard from the students from one end saying that there's erasures of curriculum, omissions in curriculum of heritage, ethnicity, culture, identity, And then on the other end, advocacy, they have an opportunity to be advocates to include their voice in curriculum and in programming. And then you have others who have experienced microaggression. So for the DEIO officers, could you please respond to the students' answers and tell us what is the role of the university ensuring that students have that safe place to learn, to grow, and to express themselves in their artwork and in other curriculum content areas.
So speaking to that, I think the important part as the diversity and inclusion officer for State College of Florida is to make sure that the door always remains open, that they have a place that they can come and share those thoughts. Taking those thoughts and really looking at what our students need and answering their need. So with that, it takes time to sit down, have a conversation, talk with them, figure out what's happening, where it's happening, and then dealing with our administrators to figure out how we're going to address it. Because what we don't want to do is have students who feel like they don't belong at the institution, who feel like there's always obstructions at the institution. We want that opportunity for their learning experience to be one that is lived and fulfilled with reaching those goals that they set out to do. So as an officer who works with students directly, my door remains open at all times. If I'm on campus, you need to see me, I'm available unless I'm away from my desk in a meeting. But having the students have a space and an individual that they can come in and sit down and feel safe and comfortable with to express what they're dealing with is important for me. And I think that's important for our students to know that that person exists at the institution. I do know our administrators, most of them have an open door policy. Their schedules are busy, but it's okay. You can schedule time, but just to have that opportunity to have someone that they can touch on a daily basis, that's what's important for me as an officer for those students.
So for the university professors, how do we get from the talk to the action? And any president could answer the question. How do we include more Black experiences in the curriculum, Black and brown experiences, more diverse experiences? How do we deal with microaggressive behaviors on campus so that students can feel welcomed outside of the walls of a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer? And any president can answer the question. I'm looking at Larry for some reason.
Well, I can't answer the question, but I will tell you my response to it, which is it's incredibly difficult. And one of the major issues is basically helping to teach the faculty, okay? So the faculty and the administrators need to learn more about diversity, be more open to it, and because they don't think, you know, they're doing microaggressions. In fact, many times they have no idea what a microaggression is because they haven't been educated. So it's a major issue, I think, in a lot of higher ed because faculty don't necessarily go to workshops, which are certainly put on by Centers for Diversity and so forth, when they should be. So there is an issue, and hopefully that will change, but it's going to take a long period of time. I'm afraid. Hopefully, you know, it's tough to force people to take something because they will not then absorb it. This is something that they have to feel and really get internally, as opposed to, you know, reading something. So, so that, I mean, it's frustrating, and it's frustrating when it happens. And so, the best we can do is try to help when a student comes forward. It helps us get the avenue to be able to go to the faculty member or the administrator to be able to start the discussion.
Barry, I'm going to agree with you. Talking about students, on our campus, because we're very small, and because most of our students, not most, but many of our students are adults and have jobs and are working. So we don't have as many student issues. On the other hand, I may not be aware of them. I would like to be aware of them. I don't know that I am. When I'm aware of situations regarding diversity that are problematic, it's usually with faculty and staff. And even then, I don't see very many of them on our campus. Again, I think because we're small and because I've said we have a very close-knit culture. I would also say that we have a number of groups. There's a chancellor's group that's put together by Corey Posey that deals with racial issues and deals with inclusion. And, excuse me, and one of the things that's really exciting about that is we usually plan for an hour-long meeting, and he has a very good agenda set, and it usually goes an hour and a half to an hour because people are so interested in continuing to talk about the topic. And I will say that we've had some wonderful, wonderful lectures on campus by many of our top people, particularly good one on microaggressions, didn't we? But many good ones that are brought to us, and I think they get a good showing. Probably, like Larry said, not the showing that we wish they would get because they're incredibly good. But we did have one last week on ableism for disabilities. Now that's another group that's very important to us. And we had over 130 people attending that. So I have a lot of encouragement, or I see a lot of promise that people are very engaged and interested in this extremely important topic. But for us, the students are not as much probably as an issue as faculty and staff.
Thank you. Well, I'm going back to the students, and I'm going to ask you to raise your hand and tell me how many of you come from first-generation higher education? 2 of the 4. And all of you, the question to you is, how are the arts a gateway or an opportunity to your collegiate experience in advancing your career goals? Is it a block, an obstacle, an opportunity? Explain. Why did you choose the particular school that you're at and why?
So I have a little more of a, I guess, complicated situation. So I am adopted from Haiti, and I see art as a way to honor my brothers and sisters that weren't privileged enough to come over to the country. And so art in my collegiate experience has, it has certainly opened up a lot more opportunities, as I've said before, just kind of express myself and to share my voice and to represent my biological family and other students of color. And I chose Ringling College of Art and Design because of its career services program, because I wanted sort of that confirmation that with my 4 years in college that I'd have a plan afterwards. And so with Ringling, there's their career services, and they help to prepare for that next step. So whether it's continuing studies or finding a job. And so art was just the direction I wanted to go in. It felt that most fit me, and as I said before, gave me the ability to really share my voice and have the tool to represent others in the way that I would like to. And I think I'm honored to be at the school that I am and to have all these opportunities and to, as I said before, kind of represent those who weren't able to come to America and have these opportunities as well.
So I'm from Jamaica. However, I've lived in New Jersey for over 15 years and now here in Florida doing my graduate studies. And in that experience, I chose to come to USF because of how interdisciplinary the art program was. Being a person that works in multiple mediums, I've always made work based on what I've had accessible to me. And so sustainability is a big part of my practice, making sure that my materials is coming from a secondhand source or just been used before in some way that I am recycling in the making of my art. And so coming to USF, being a small graduate program, was good for me to be able to find my voice in a space that wasn't too big, but then also interdisciplinary, where I could move through different mediums as I saw fit. But in addition to that, I found my way as an activist through my art. I didn't realize how I guess inspired I was to advocate for both myself and others. But being here at USF, I joined the graduate assistant union and became an active member, and later became a lead fellow leading different activist programs, and now working with the National Education Association. And I didn't realize that my art would have led me to that path, but it has. And so I guess sticking with something, you can also find various voices in that experience. So for me, art has continued to open doors in many ways, and have guided me to meet various people and learn so many different things. And my time here at USF has also afforded me not just a full scholarship, but also the space to build my experience as an activist.
And I just wanted to let the audience know that Jesse down here is becoming a YouTube sensation. Okay? Because he and his roommate, I think, have created a YouTube video that shows every once in a while, and it's just about sort of life in the residence hall and being at Ringling. So Jesse, I mean, he's reusing his creativity like crazy. So as I said, he's become a YouTube sensation.
Oh, we're going to watch that. Congratulations.
So at the State College of Florida, as it is a community college, I do very much appreciate that as the moment that we step in through the doors, all of our teachers and the adjuncts treat us as professional musicians. So from the moment we step in those doors, they hold us to a standard that we are to uphold, and even credited for as we go on to our professional careers. It is very much beneficial as we go on into university to then have the same principles that they upheld into us, so we make sure that we're held successful. So I would like to say that as far as opportunity goes, the State College of Florida does a very good job at opportuning every student on what they need. If there is a student that is probably struggling on what they need, they provide scholarships for their primary instrument, and then they have their teacher that they have one-on-one sessions with in order to get better. So I do very much appreciate how the State College of Florida handles that situation, as opportunity is always given, and is always just one talk. Oh, sorry, choked up a little. There's always one talk away or one meeting away to just then be able to advancing onto your goals and ensuring that you are able to ensure on the right path and what you want to do if financials are a problem for you. And I love the opportunity that gives that for us.
Great, and Ayola? Yeah, the question was, could you talk about your obstacles and your opportunities that you have in the arts programs at your school? Why did you choose to attend the school in which you're attending?
So I chose New College because it was extremely small, and while I was looking for colleges online, I was looking at the reviews for New College, and people kept writing that, oh, be careful when you go here because you might either like it or hate it. It's for a very specific type of person. And they're like, it's very small and it's full of hippies and just really introverted people. And I was like, those are my type of people. That's where I want to go. Because growing up in high school, I was kind of just the weird kid. And I wanted to go to a school where there were other weird kids. And I was so happy when I got to New College because it was really weird. Everyone was so, everyone was like unique. So I felt like I had finally found a place where I could discover myself. And I started experimenting with different types of, I don't know, just ways of living life and being. I tried being a hippie for a while, and I don't know, it was incredible. People weren't wearing shoes. It just felt really free. So that's why I chose New College, and I really enjoyed my time there. I guess my favorite part, aside from like people just being really cool, is that there's a huge number of neurodivergent people. So people who, have autism, ADHD, dyslexia, different like mental experiences. So being around other people who were experiencing the world as I was helped me feel like more empowered in myself. It helped me find my voice, which was really awesome. And then also New College doesn't have any grades. You only have written evaluations. And that was cool because in my high school, there was a ranking system. So you would only just get like number grades for how well you're performing, but you'd also be like ranked with everyone else. So that caused a lot of like mental stress. So going somewhere where I got like evaluated, on like what I was doing, and it wasn't like, this is an A, this is a B. It's like, this is why this is good, this is why this is bad. So New College was exceptional in that way. And I went there to study psychology, but I took a few art classes and I fell in love. So I decided, I actually want to like pursue art as a career. And that's how I am now here as an artist. So I wouldn't actually even be very much who I am without New College. So I'm very, happy with my experience in that regard, and would do it all over again, over and over. So.
Well, Dr. Oka, I think you might want to follow up behind that regarding these inclusive, opening, welcoming, weird experiences.
First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing your perspective and your story. It's really important. So I'm wondering if the line in the newspaper is the weird college. But in all seriousness, let me say this, that I am proud to be president of a college which says, whoever you are welcome here. Now, your story also said that we don't live up to that challenge sometimes. But it is important for all of us to think about the arts and diversity. And we've talked about it already in this panel from so many different perspectives. And they're not separate, right? So someone's history, their ability status, all these things intersect. And I'm very proud, again, very proud to be at an institution that says whoever you are and whoever you may become, you are welcome here. And you can grow and learn, and we will learn from you. So I learned tonight about things that we need to do better. Absolutely. So we take on those challenges. So thank you.
I'm going to ask the administrators, when we talk about growth, could you please elaborate on the demographics of your students? And talk to me about how do you plan to grow your programs to be more inclusive of students of color? DIEO officers, presidents, somebody answer me.
I'll be happy to talk to that. I'm most familiar with our music students. I'm passionate about what we're able to do in that program and how we've been able to grow it for the last several years. This year we have 92 students in our music program. 36% of our students are Black or Hispanic. And one of the things that we're trying to do to expand our program, we just finished building our new studio for the performing arts. It has a 150-seat recital hall. It has private practice rooms, so we can give students more of what they need to be able to refine their craft. But also part of it, to me, is we grow our own. And I can't be more proud than to be sitting up here today with Fred and with Dr. Pinckney and with Simone, because Fred is a leader. He just told us what he's doing as the leader of his vocal section and also the second violin in the Bradenton Symphony Orchestra. You're a leader. You're the next generation of leader as well. And Simone started as a student at the State College of Florida. She's now an adjunct faculty member at the State College of Florida, and she just took a position teaching vocal at Bethune-Cookman. So we're growing this next generation of leaders at our institution, and we know that we're going to grow our own. And we know that they're going to come back to us. In our music program in particular, our students come back year after year after year after year. We've seen them at our productions. They're part of what we do. We invite them to be part of those productions. Now, in terms of what the students are like, and the 92 students, half are full-time, about half are part-time. 60% are women, 40% are men. 57% are Pell eligible. So we have quite a spectrum of students in our music program, and it very much reflects our college overall. I think what's special about the music program and the arts program in general is the students that are in these programs have a special bond. They get to know each other on a whole different level. They get to know their faculty on a whole different level, and those connections last a lifetime that not only help the students while they're with us, but it helps them to make the connections they need to be successful as they're pursuing their career once they leave our campuses.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to tackle that? Dr. Thompson?
So our demographics, since you asked the question, are terrible in the sense of, in terms of equity, because of the fact that we are a private college and it's expensive. Our tuition is like $46,000 a year, and then you add room and board, you're talking about $60,000 a year for someone to come to Ringling. Now we have lots of financial aid to help, put a dent into that cost. So that's why. But I mean, right now it's basically about 15% are brown, Hispanic, and only 3% of our student body is black, and about 10% is Asian, and then we have a number who are two or more races. So, we do not have as diverse a student body as I would really like to see. So what are we doing about it? Well, we are very much putting a great deal of effort in terms of raising money for scholarships, and we've created a couple of things called Masterpiece Scholars that basically take care of full tuition for students to come. That's not just for minority students, but it's for any students, but they're students of need. And we put a lot of emphasis in trying to help people to be able to attend Ringling. And I love what Jesse said about his feeling about the institution, because one of the things we're all about is shattering the myth of the starving artist, okay? And we're trying to change that kind of cycle. And, but nonetheless, it's a problem. It's a problem for a lot of private colleges. And that's all I can say about it. And we're trying to address it, but again, it'll take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and resources.
Well, thank you for your commitment for growing and growth, and I'm quite sure you can do that. In fact, they have a hamburger named after you, right? I'm going to take that. I'm going to ask the presidents a question. When you look at the leadership, especially the leadership level of the chancellor and the president, if you look at this panel, the students are black, the diversity officers are black, and when you look at the presidents and the chancellors, they're white. So could you answer a question for me? What strategies does your institution have in place to create a pipeline of leadership at the hierarchy, the highest level of the hierarchy, to ensure that there is a place of equity for all?
I can start, if you might. We started a leadership academy several years ago to identify individuals within the institution who had an interest in and the skill set to become senior leaders at our institution. We've now put our second class through. I'm proud to say that the diversity of those classes have been very broad at our institution. So we're working in that way, but we're also, as I said previously, we're trying to grow our own. We realize that it's going to take time. This isn't going to happen overnight. We're going to have to create that next generation of leaders. And so, for example, our student government at the State College of Florida, 90% of the students who are serving identify as black or brown. And so we're trying to give students opportunities to be leaders so they can go and finish their careers or not finish their education and come back and be leaders at the State College of Florida. So again, we're trying to grow our own, giving those leadership opportunities in every way we can, serving on committees at the college, committees that make decisions about how we spend money, which is great skill for students to learn, serving on committees that are helping us figure out how we can be a better institution. And so again, providing those leadership opportunities, I think, is the key to be able to ultimately create the leaders that we need to come back and be leaders at our institution.
Dr. Oka?
I'll add one other thing. So I also agree about the making sure we provide leadership opportunities. I also just want to emphasize the importance that we hold ourselves accountable so that the people who report to us, we make sure that our teams are diverse and that we then support those leaders so that when they want to pursue their own careers, they have opportunities. So I see that as one of my jobs of making sure that the leadership broadly in New College is diverse and to make sure that we have the right hiring practices, the right mentoring practices, so that faculty and staff of color can be successful in leadership opportunities. And that's on me, not anybody else. I mean, everyone's responsible, but it is my responsibility.
Carol, I like your idea of a leadership academy. I think that's a great idea. We do not have a very diverse senior leadership team. We have only one person of color on the senior leadership team, and our board does not have anybody of color, which is something that we're working on right now. I think our students and our staff are much more diverse and are much more in building more diversity into their activities. It's something that we absolutely have to do, but again, as a small campus, but so are you, Pat. You're even smaller than we are. So it is something that we really care about. I'm going to say one thing that we have done that I think is maybe very interesting, but one of our faculty members, who's the dean or a campus dean of hospitality, did a MOOC that went all over the world this year for 5 different sessions, 2 hours apiece, and 130,000 people logged on to this diversity MOOC. So it tells you how much people are caring about this topic, and so are we. We just have to do a much better job.
So doing a much better job, let me go back to the diversity officers and ask you a question. Bill, I haven't heard much from you tonight, and I know you talk a lot, so I want to hear some more from you. So what does success look like as you prepare students for the collegiate experience? Tell me, what does success look like?
Well, thank you for that invitation. I would say that, in my mind's eye, what I see is a student body that represents the diversity of the state of Florida, where students are at that edge. When they talk about the comfort zone and the panic zone and the learning zone being right before you get to the panic, that they're all energized, they're moving fast, they're absorbing, they're contributing, they're connected to the community, they're designing the future of the college. One of the things I think that we already do a very good job of is really giving student voice into policy. We have a very active and engaged student government. I think every college has a student representative on the Board of Trustees. Our Board of Trustees listens to our student voice very closely. I think the concerns that Ayola identified in terms of the relationship that we've had with the police has been responded to. We've had a lot of student voice and a police and a commission to look at those policies, and those policies are evolving as we speak to respond to a very heavily student-driven investigation into policies. But in my mind's eye, we have not just the diversity, but not just the representation, but also that transformative experience that permeates not only what happens on campus, but also extends into the community, and that those creative capabilities, those leadership skills are being developed and enhanced, and that the community sees that. And I think that we already have a reputation for the new college student being an unusually engaged and active, politically active. We actually won a national award for the voter turnout on our campus. Our little campus had one of the highest representations in the country for voting. That is, I've had students tell me, you know, I'm going to be late to this meeting because I'm going to be up in Palmetto getting people to the polls. I mean, this is amazing, the kind of engagement our students have. But we want that to really be part of the brand, and that every student understands that that's part of what it means to be a new college student. So that's what it looks like to me.
Thank you. And Mr. Rump, you're a high school administrator. Could you please tell us does that look like? I know you have the Book of Promise program at Booker. And what does success look like for the high school student who's going into the college experience?
I think, and I'm saying this with my principal, the illustrious Dr. Shelley in the audience. I'm not getting ready to mess this up.
Yeah.
I think the mission and vision of Booker High School is that all of our students, 100%, leave our school either college or career ready. How does that translate into the arts? In our VPA program, students are engaged with a rigorous college-level curriculum, no matter what the discipline is, whether it's the visual arts, dance, theater, music, those students are put in front of world-class teachers. They're just not good teachers, they're great teachers who are very good at what they do. Aside from teachers on our staff, we bring in adjuncts that are professionals at what they do, practicing artists in their craft. So students get an opportunity to have a real-world, world-class, college, rigorous curriculum for their 4 years in the program. For example, our art students last year, every single last one of them either passed an AP exam or they passed an ACE exam, which means they're leaving with college credit on their way out of the door. Many of our students gain scholarships to illustrious music schools or acting schools, any of the sort. So speaking in a more global, broader sense, I think what it looks like is for a student to be able to walk into a program and be able to have those types of educational experiences that challenges them to think, become critical thinkers, as well as folks who are really, really, really good practitioners of what they do.
Well, I'll tell you, we love your students. Okay, we love you.
Thank you. I don't think Dr. Shelley would have it any other way.
So the last question that I have before my time is up and we bring Michelle up, I'm going to ask everybody in one sentence, tell me when you experience any form of art, what makes you smile? Let me start with the presidents.
What makes me smile? It's when a piece, no matter what kind it is, whether it's a painting, whether it's even a graphic design or an animation, if it just speaks to me, speaks to my soul, that makes me smile.
When it makes me feel something.
When I experience surprise, something I wasn't expecting, and it is that joy of discovery, that's what makes me smile.
I smile when my granddaughter sends me pictures that she's drawn.
Administrators, what makes you smile?
For me, it's when I see myself in a piece of artwork, and I don't mean just looking at someone with brown skin. So it could be something that resonates with what I'm feeling or my experiences, but I can relate to that piece of work. And it doesn't have to be a piece of visual artwork. It could be a song, it could be a movie, it could be poetry. So it's whatever that story is, if it speaks to me.
I think it's something that just brings that passion for me. And like Professor Rump said here, it can be music. It can be a movie, it can be a script, it can be spoken word, but anything that I feel brings passion for me.
For me, it's when I see our alumni and current students doing amazing things. It could be Jacob Wentz, if you listen to public radio, it's a new college graduate giving you the news. If you are a movie lover, you might have seen Miles Eiten's movie, Sincerely the Black Kids. When it's a young man works in my office, Stephen Kasheshian, who has co-created a podcast that we do for our community, and he takes on a topic that I didn't even understand, like, why are we talking about this? And I hear the podcast and go, that was brilliant. When I see things being created that I would never have thought of that our young people are creating, that's what makes me smile.
Collaborating makes me smile when you have that connection and you take ownership with someone else, and just sharing that, it brings joy to me.
And now our students. Ayola?
I smile when I find artwork that gives me a sense of like mutual understanding. So artwork where I feel like looking at it, the artist understands me and I understand the artist. And that can be like a timeless thing too. Like one of my favorite artists is Basquiat, and I don't know, when I look at his work, I feel like just so connected to what he's trying to say. And I feel like maybe he's saying what I would like to say in his form. So artwork that speaks to me, for me.
Thank you.
I think what makes me smile the most is seeing the vehicles in which art can be expressed and the support for it. So whether that's through a newspaper or a gallery or theatrical space or music and radio, just all the channels in which it can exist and there's funding for those channels.
For me, it's any media that has intersecting experiences that I'm unfamiliar with, and artwork that pushes me to some sort of action.
For me, I would say it's just the moment for when after a piece is played and you have that last swing of the baton with the orchestra playing with you, or you have everyone cutting off their breath in the vocal, just that sound that travels back into the room and letting the silence pretty much end the story that we've been telling and working really hard to. I feel like that moment is what makes me smile with music.
Well, thank you so much, all of you. I know we only touched the surface with our topics, but I think this was a very inspiring panel of teachers, faculty members, administrators, university presidents, and most of all, our students who have given us a lot of food for thought. And I hope that after we leave here tonight, we will think about those things that make us smile in and through the arts. For me, it's Marvin Gaye. And and I asked the question, what's going on? So I want to thank you for coming and give the mic to our illustrious visionary for tonight, Michelle Redwine.
Wow. I tell you, we talked about questions to be asked, but you really have no idea of responses. And tonight, I just have to say, this was just wonderful. And the fact that that Charles Clapsaddle is with Manatee Technical Collaboration, I hope I said that right, Charles, is going to be showing this on our major stations, Spectrum, Frontier, YouTubes, et cetera, and it will be on our websites, and it will be on your websites. So that was really great. And Denise, I will tell you, you just knocked the socks off. Just incredible. Thank you. And just so that you perhaps didn't know, there were two programs tonight, the same, but the covers. Crystals is the art on this program, and Jess Jesse is the art on this program. And these incredible these incredible students are going to be doing some mentoring and some work in our schools. We have a program, Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative, with the financial support of the Charles and Marjorie Baranczyk Foundation, is developing a program called Syllabus of Color. And we're going to be in the Booker schools, high school, middle, and elementary. And we are going to make certain and encourage our families of color that their children must take art. They cannot go through education without taking art. So with that, truly, you all were incredible. I can't wait to see the video, just to hear the comments again. But anyway, my name is Michelle Redwine. It has been mentioned a number of times tonight. Thank you. And this has been a dream of mine to start to be the founder of this organization. For many years, I moved here about 15 years ago, and I've participated and sat on 5 major community boards. And my mission was basically looking at diversity within the arts. And I realized I was making an impact, but I wasn't creating change. And as soon as I rolled off the last board, I said to myself, I have to do something within community. And that's how the vision came about, with some wonderful community friends and colleagues who joined me in this mission. So we've only received our 5013C just a year and a half ago. We've been around for almost 3 years. So we feel that we're off to a good start with programs like this. I think it's making a difference, and discussion and collaboration is very important. So this has been a special evening to be here with all of you, our panelists and our audience, as we look at diversity in higher education in the arts. These discussions and engaged participants should feel encouraged to face the challenges as educators and students working together. Conversations renew strength to meet the challenges of diversity in education as we draw influence and insight from each other. Diversity and diversity in the arts has never been more important to colleges and the workforce than it is now. Colleges are looking for ways to support and sustain programs, recruit a more diversified student body, and promote a diverse, healthy educational institution. Discussions like this evening will lead and develop individuals and educational institutions to strengthen their capacity to serve diverse communities and students, and help build environments in which Black arts and art education thrive. In the future, we prepare to meet challenges. We all must strengthen our communication, collaborate on implementing opportunities for students of color, and know that success happens through cooperation. The panel discussion helped all of us to understand the challenges of change to recruit and retain students from diverse backgrounds for the arts. So thank you for your attention and commitment to collaboration and community building. And it is so important that we hear from everyone here. So we have a card. One side is for students, and the other side is for community, administration, faculty, and our audience. Please complete this tonight. If you would like to continue conversation If you enter your email, we will make certain that that happens. So as we depart tonight, you know, we had planned to have a big reception, and of course, COVID and protocols occurred. But we didn't want you to leave without having something to take away. So we have gifts for you all, a special scroll that we want you to enjoy. And the last thing is, if you'd like to make donations to Suncoast Black Arts Collaborative, please go to our website. It is suncoastblackartscollaborative.org. So with that, thank you for joining and participating, and panelists, and Denise, thank you so much.